Mama and kids murdered, less than 24 hours after custody trial, and poem she left behind for mamas. On Tuesday, an Arkansas mother bravely represented herself against her ex and his attorney at the final custody trial, as her own attorney had recently abandoned her. But the next morning at 9:30 a.m., she and her 6-year-old twins were found dead in their home. It is unclear whether the murder took place the evening of the hearing or the next day, but it was less than 24 hours after the trial concluded. The mother was shot twice, once in the chest and once in the head. The children were shot once. It is being investigated as a homicide. The police have not named her ex an official suspect yet, but virtually everyone is convinced he murdered them given his long history of domestic violence, which included strangulation, a known precursor to murder. Family members have accused him of abusing them as well. To add to the suspicion, his previous wife also died of a gunshot wound. The manner of death was deemed a suicide, but her family is convinced he murdered her and now wants the case reopened. This is Charity's story. Charity was working as a nurse when she met a doctor named Randy. He was a specialist in rehabilitative medicine. They married in 2016. Charity gave birth to twins in 2019. Charity told friends about a long history of domestic violence and that she was afraid of him. His abuse peaked in February of this year, with an especially horrific incident including strangulation. This violence occurred in front of the twins. She reported this incident to the police. Randy was charged with aggravated assault, third-degree domestic battery, and 2 counts of third-degree endangering the welfare of a minor. A criminal protective order was granted. Terms required him to do drug testing, as he had a history of abusing drugs. He was also ordered to take anger management courses, but it does not appear he complied with either. Randy ended up pleading guilty to simple battery. He practically killed her and did not spend a day behind bars. Typical. Charity filed for divorce immediately after this incident. She asked for sole custody and to remain in the home with the children with no contact, or at least supervised visits, for Randy. He countersued for custody. In August, Charity posted an article on her timeline about strangulation. It said that victims of strangulation have a 750% increase in homicide by gunshot within a year of the strangulation. She also posted about Gabby Petito, and by this point, she must have suspected him of killing his previous wife. She was obviously terrified he would murder her. Despite Randy's horrific long history of violence and Charity's credible fear he may murder her and/or the children, Judge Shannon Blatt gave him unsupervised visits with the 6-year-old twins.
Charity says she was treated like the problem while Randy was shielded by the system.
She said, "I'm living this battle right now. I am the victim, and yet I've been treated like the problem while the criminal, a local doctor, is being shielded by the very system that's supposed to protect us." Just 2 days before the trial, something occurred that caused Charity to file an emergency motion. This has led to much speculation that Randy threatened to kill her. The trial took place on Tuesday. Charity's attorney had recently quit, so she argued her case herself, up against Randy's seasoned attorney. She apparently did very well. It is unclear whether the judge made oral findings and orders at the conclusion of the day. The judgment is not available on the docket, so it is unclear the exact outcome. What most likely happened is Randy did not get what he wanted, whatever that was: joint custody. No child support alimony? If so, this may have made him very angry. He moved to have the divorce case dismissed the day after the bodies were found. As of yesterday, the Sebastian County Sheriff's Office says the case remains an active homicide investigation. No arrests have been made, and no suspects or persons of interest have been officially named.
Takeaways.
There was probably nothing that could have been done to stop these killings if the murderer is indeed Charity's ex. Alleged at this point, he was likely determined and knew how to get in the house even if it were locked. However, the main point is the judge should never have given such a violent man unsupervised visitation. But judges are pressured by the old boy agenda to keep men in power in their family after divorce. This includes unrestricted access to their children, if not joint custody. On the other hand, there is no such pressure for mothers, who are very often placed on supervised visits after reporting abuse. This is to silence them and the children about the father's abuse. Charity says she was treated like the problem and her fears dismissed. She thought this was because her ex was a well-respected doctor. But the truth is, judges are giving men custody whether they are high status or not. It's just that the higher the status, the more likely they will get it. Not surprisingly, Judge Blatt is up for a promotion. This case should do it. She did her job, giving a doctor unsupervised visitation when he should have been in jail. Charity's case drives home the fact that the only way for women to get justice after divorce and be able to protect their children is to remove judges' power to decide custody. Custody cases must be heard in a regular trial court with a jury. The judge should have no more power than any civil court judge. They should not be able to appoint anyone, not evaluators, minors' counsels, therapists, et al. Join the Women's Coalition where we are demanding a new system. womenscoalition.org. Following is a poem written by Charity, but I did. I survived the chaos he called love, the betrayal, the manipulation, the financial devastation, the sleepless nights with 2 terrified children, the gaslighting that made me question reality, the silent wars behind closed doors. He didn't pause when he was destroying everything sacred. Not when he betrayed our family, not when he chose abuse over accountability, not when I was left to pick up shattered pieces with shaking hands, dehydrated and broken, pleading for breath and strength in the silence. But now that I've begun rebuilding, now that I've chosen healing, truth, and freedom over fear, he wants to pause. To pause what, exactly? The games? The control? The narrative he spun to everyone else while I was silently drowning?
This isn't love.
It's damage control. It's ego dressed up as romance. It's panic disguised as sentiment. He thought I'd always stay small. He thought I'd never leave. He never imagined I'd rise from the wreckage. But I did. I am. So no. I don't need flowers. I needed safety. I needed respect. I needed a father for my children who didn't teach them love looks like fear. I won't be fooled by gestures. I'm not angry out of bitterness. I'm fierce with memory. And I'll never forget what we endured. Let him pause. I'm building something real. For me. For my babies. And we're not looking back. Ever. That's Charity's poem. Rest in peace, Charity and kids. And that's all for our custody crisis stories this week. Remember to like and subscribe and join us again next week for another story.